Today we're delving into the intriguing drama mystery film titled Deep Water. The movie begins with Vic and his wife Melinda, who are married and have a daughter named Trixie. We watch Melinda as she prepares to go with her husband to attend a party at her friend's house. She brings a babysitter to take care of their daughter. When they arrive at the party, Melinda breaks up with her husband and hugs a friend named Joel. Vic, looking at his wife, was upset by her behavior and her closeness to him, but had to keep quiet to maintain a relationship with her. He then introduced Joel to her husband, and they were alone together. Vic told Joel about a man named Martin, who was Melinda's former lover. Vic told him that he had killed Martin because he was close to his wife. After hearing these words, Joel gets scared and leaves the party. Melinda gets upset with Joel because he left the party. Melinda feels that her husband was the reason for Joel's departure, but he denied having anything to do with it. Vic was a very quiet person and he loved his wife. After that, the couple returned home and Vic was giving money to the babysitter while she was leaving, but suddenly he saw Melinda making coffee but wearing inappropriate clothes. So he got angry with her and asked her to come back and not do that in front of the babysitter. She was angry with him, but he came to her room and asked her to choose someone smarter than Joel. She asks him if he loves her because of her intelligence. He told her that this was one of the reasons, but she told him she didn't feel that way, and she chose to get into a relationship with Joel because of that. Then she calmly told him to leave the room. Vic is the responsible person at home and prepares breakfast and drives his daughter to school while Melinda does nothing at all. After taking his daughter to school, he met a friend. She asked him about the murder he had committed without telling her. He asked who told her about it. She replied that Joel had told the townspeople that Vic had killed his wife's friend and had threatened to kill him. She laughed, figuring he was teasing Joel. When Melinda returned home, she learned that her husband had threatened Joel and asked him to apologize. Vic met with his friends, told them about the rumors Joel had spread, and asked them to control his wife because she was wrong and flaunted her relationships with others. Melinda invited Joel over for dinner. Joel began talking about his new job in Mexico and said he was leaving the next morning. Melinda said she wanted to go to Mexico. Joel said he would love for her to come to his house in Mexico, but Vic had booked a hotel for her and said he wouldn't leave her alone. Melinda starts talking about how boring her husband is and how she wishes he was a normal person. She says that if he was a normal person, Joel wouldn't be sitting with him. Joel leaves to go to the bathroom. Melinda asks her husband to read a story to their daughter and take her to her room. And indeed, he takes his daughter to her room. He then sees his wife dancing and spending time with Joel. Melinda then tells her husband to sit down and talk to Joel. They start to have a conversation. Joel asked her to apologize for what happened at the party, but she refused and said it was too late and he should leave the house. Joel got scared and left. The next day they went to a party. Melinda was with her friends, but suddenly she saw him dancing with a girl. She felt jealous and annoyed by her husband's behavior, but she tried to pretend otherwise. While they were returning home, she was angry with him, but he did not say anything to her. The next day, Vic received a phone call telling him that his wife was sending money to someone for piano lessons. After that, he started looking for this person named Charles. He succeeded in finding him and went and attended one of his shows. Returned home, he learned through the news that the body of his wife's friend Martin had been discovered. He told his wife about this, and she was surprised and started crying. The next day he saw Charles with a bouquet of roses, but when he got home he was surprised. He got angry and threw the bouquet of roses in the trash. Then he went to take care of the snails and went to bed. One day he woke up. When his wife came home, he asked her why he was late and why he was spending money, but she did not answer and started provoking him. The next day he threw a party at his house for his close friends, but Vic was surprised that Charles came. This angered him and he saw his wife hugging him. Melinda tried to introduce Charles to Vic, but he left without them. He continued to look at his wife, but lost sight of her. He then realized that his wife and Charles were in the room and closed the door. Then he saw them walking toward the pool and looked angrily after them. It started to rain, and everyone except Vic and Charles went inside the house. After a while, Vic goes inside the house. Melinda started looking for Charles, but was surprised to see his body in the pool and started screaming loudly in terror. After the police arrived, Melinda accused her husband of killing Charles, but he calmly denied it. Vic's friends told police that Vic had been inside. Vic was acquitted since there was no evidence against him. Vic asked his wife if she wanted a divorce, but she did not answer. Later, as Vic was riding his bicycle and contemplating his crime, he noticed a car looking at him. A few days later, he was walking down the street and noticed the same car in front of a restaurant. When he entered the restaurant, he saw his wife with a man. He sat down next to them and began to get to know the man. The man told him he was a psychiatrist, which seemed suspicious to Vic, and he asked where the clinic was located. Vic asked to see the ID of the man he worked for, but the man wouldn't give him that either. Vic walked away, leaving them alone. After some investigation, he visited a man named Don who had been spreading rumors about Vic. He also learned that Don was working with Melinda, and she was giving him money to keep tabs on him. He asked them to stop their actions. When he returned home, he saw his wife walking with someone. He went inside the house and watched their daughter. During the night, he saw his wife talking on the phone and planning to go to Brazil with her new boyfriend. When he heard this, he became very angry. The next day, his wife's friend came home for dinner. Vic was angry, but he tried to keep his anger in check. After dinner, Melinda left to go out with her boyfriend, and Vic stayed in the house to wash the dishes. A few days later, Vic saw that a friend of his wife's had called Tony and offered to drive him home. Tony had already agreed. Vic drove Tony into the woods. Tony was scared and anxious. When he got out of the car, Vic beat Tony with rocks until he killed him. He then tied the body with rocks and threw it into the river. A few days after Tony's disappearance, his relationship with his wife began to improve. Later, they went to the same forest where Vic noticed the body in the river, so he asked his wife to come home so she wouldn't find it. When he returned home, his wife told him that she had left a cloth in the forest, and he decided to go to the forest alone to retrieve it. One day, Melinda went into the basement and found Tony's wallet. When she learned that her husband had killed her friend, she burst into tears. Vic arrived in the woods and tried to hide the body by pushing it into the river, but Don suddenly appeared there, watching him suspiciously. Upon seeing him, Don said he would report him to the police. Vic tried to follow him, but Don drove away. However, Don had an accident and his car fell into the river, killing him. Later, when Vic returned home, his wife was waiting for him. His wife told him that she knew everything about Vic, but realized that she had made a mistake and her husband had never left her despite that. So she decided to drop everything, forget the past, and live with her husband.